These are the problems with rent to rent. Number one, it is a high rejection rate. Most landlords and agents are going to say no. You just got to accept that. This is why rent to rent is known as a numbers game. It's phone calls and phone calls and phone calls and phone calls and rejection and rejection and rejection. On the flip side, if you have a good script and you're very direct, which you can learn just by watching this video, and you get better at objection handling, then you can get good at positioning to turn a no into a yes. Another challenge is the upfront costs, okay? The furniture, the compliance, potential deposits, potential refurbs, and that is all before you even start to earn any money. There's other gurus online saying you can get started in this business with no money. It's absolutely nonsense. You can if you're deal sourcing, but that still requires compliance. The good side is you've got Facebook Marketplace, you've got Gumtree, you've got the likes of Asda, the Range, where you can get really good, kind of good quality looking stuff at a budget. So you can take on and furnish a property on a budget. Minimum, you're looking about £2,000 on a budget side, all the way up to like £5,000-6,000 to do a nice luxurious spec. Obviously it depends on the size of the property. You could spend north of 15k. Some of my clients have, but that's on properties that deserve it and need it, to bring in the type of clients that are going to stay in that potential property, like this property here. There are ways of negotiating deposits off as well with reposit scheme. All depends on whether the landlord is on board. Obviously we can help negotiate that, but sometimes it doesn't always happen. Another thing a lot of people don't talk about is the cash flow gap. Here's the problem. You might furnish a property, get it all ready, and it goes live, and you get a month-long booking. If it's through booking.com, it depends on how you're set up, but here's the payment options that when you will get paid, but it's pretty much after the guest checkout. So that's always something to bear in mind. If rent is due, you might want to go on shorter stays as opposed to optimizing for longer stays from the get-go, especially if cash flow and budget is on a bit of a squeeze. You want money coming in before the rent is due next. A lot of people never take that into consideration. Another challenge is compliance, property compliance. Obviously we are going to be covering our own asses in the contract, right? It's the landlord's property, but sometimes, especially service accommodation, fire regs October 2023 come in, it's our responsibility to get a comprehensive fire risk assessment done on the moment of taking on a rent to service accommodation. HMOs, we only take on compliant properties. If it doesn't have a HMO license, walk away. Forget it, walk away. Stack it as a service accommodation, do the due diligence on that, but do not take it on as a HMO if it does not have a license. Even if the agent turns around and says, it used to have a license, you can apply for it, walk away. Don't bother, not worth the hassle. But if you're doing it as a service accommodation, there are steps and guidance on how to get a property compliant over time. Okay, so it's not the end of the world. Another challenge is the landlord relationship risk. So the moment you're inquiring about a property, honesty is the best policy. Don't try and explain that you're experienced when you're brand new. Be very direct. This is how I still operate. This is how my students operate. It's very direct, get straight to the point. They might be slightly apprehensive in giving a newbie a property. So then it's all about contracts and break clauses, termination clauses, to reassure the landlord, like, look, if this doesn't work for you, then you can walk away at this point. If you've got a mortgage renewal here, we can introduce a break clause at this point, or a rent review at this point. Like the moment we breach the contract, you can take your property back because we're not covered by tenant rights. That is a business lease contract. So it's all about positioning yourself like you know what you're doing when doing contracts. So when you're talking to a landlord, they feel reassured to give you their asset as a complete beginner. Really important stage. This is why mainly a lot of people join a mentorship for the compliance and the contractual side of things, is they don't want to get it wrong. It's an expensive mistake to make. You're locking yourselves in to 3 to 5 year contracts. You have to take on a good property. Another challenge is market competition. So it may seem there's a lot of people doing rent to rent, and there is, but they haven't a clue on what they're doing. You can just use property market intel and you can see the trend of basically coming into high season, there's a spike of properties going live, and at the end of high season there's a complete dip, and that's the amateurs that have taken on a property based on high season prices. So the moment they're coming into low season, they're making a massive loss. They give the property back, or they break the contract, they ruin the relationship with the landlord. Yeah, it's an absolute car crash. Learn to do it properly. Learn to take on a property on a conservative basis based on solid comparables. A lot of people ask me, what if I take on a property that isn't going to perform? We don't let you take on a property that isn't going to perform. We do solid due diligence. Honestly, it's heavy due diligence. I was sat on Zoom with Davin the other night, 8:30, for 45 minutes, going through the contract of the property he's about to take on. And we went back through the due diligence just before he signs the contract, like making sure that this property is going to perform before one of our students signs the contract. We will not let you take on a property if it isn't going to perform. It's all based on data and historic trends of that area. It's not a stab in the dark. So yeah, the market is competitive, but a lot of people don't know how to stand out, and we do. And it all comes down to positioning yourself as an absolute professional, reassuring the landlord and agent that you are someone to be taken seriously, because they do get bombarded with these calls. Voids, so that could be empty rooms in your HMO or no bookings on your service accommodation. For service accommodation, it comes down to smart pricing, not just turning on like genius pricing on booking.com or getting price labs. Price labs is good, but you do need to set the kind of margins. You need to keep an eye on it because it could price you out of the market. But it comes down to pricing your property in a way that attracts families, long-term bookings, offering discounts, but also standing out, you know, how to convert to direct. So go to the description, there will be a listing optimization for service accommodation. Follow that. That will help you if you're brand new to rent or you've got a couple of properties and you haven't been trained. Honestly, just download this document, go through it, change your listing in terms with how we advertise Airbnbs, and you'll get a lot more bookings, guaranteed. With voids, with HMOs, again, we test the demand before even taking on or even offering on that property. We test demand using spare room. So we would upload a listing for that potential property and test demand. We don't take on a property if we don't get 3 good qualified messages within 3 days. We won't even bother making an offer. We'll just say to the agent, like, you know, there's not a lot of demand in this area for us to feel confident to guarantee your rent. As opposed to someone who's not in a mentorship, they'll just run it through the calculator, see it stacks and make an offer, take on the property, and then 3 months down the line, they're full of voids, struggling to fill their rooms, hand the property back, boom, relationship and rent-to-rent business tarnished with the agent and landlord. And it's people like that that are ruining this business. Okay, another challenge is bad tenants and guests. Bad tenants, let's go through that one for HMOs. Okay, house of multiple occupancy, that means, where you're going to rent a student accommodation. You're going to rent the rooms out individually. So we just use letting ref, heavy referencing and sanction checks on tenants. Best line of defense. We don't just go off of, yeah, here's the room. Do you want it? Yeah, you know, okay, here's the moving in details. It's like, no, we're going to run strict referencing. And if they don't pass, and they don't pass the gut test as well, which is, do you get a good feeling? If not, then you should have plenty of demand. All right, we don't discriminate. Again, we're a business. We cannot be taking on high risk tenants. Okay, guests, that's easy. ID verification, security deposits, done. That will rule out bad guests. Here's a common misconception, maintenance costs. We don't cover maintenance, we cover light maintenance. Just as if you were to rent a property, a 2-bed flat for you to live in from a landlord. Let's say the boiler goes down, it's flashing up an error. Are you going to fix it yourself, or are you going to notify the agent and landlord? Exactly. We're exactly the same. If the landlord's property and equipment breaks, it's their property and equipment. They will be fixing it. We handle light bulbs, smoke alarms, anything our tenants or guests damage, that's on us. But simple wear and tear and property equipment and structure, it's a landlord. So maintenance, we don't cover maintenance. Simple as that. And that all stems down to getting a good contract in place. Here's a common question. What if something comes in place, regulations come in place where you can no longer operate, or council tax is imposed per room? Again, it comes down to the contracts, having the correct clauses in the contract. Like if a regulation was to come in place or change that affects this business, we can impose 2 months notice to get out of that property. The landlord will sign that contract. It's in place. This is all about covering your ass as a business. Time commitment. Can you do this business alongside a full-time job? Absolutely. I did. My students do. Yes, you absolutely can. And people say that they're too busy. Show me your screen time. I bet at least everyone watching this has 2 hours at least on Facebook or Instagram per day. This business only requires 40 minutes per day, consistently, 5 days a week to land deals. That's it. And in time, when you do start to scale your business, you just systemize everything. Virtual assistants, software, automated processes, clear SOPs, all-round cleaner management. Another challenge is the quality of the deal. How do you know you're taking on a good quality deal? Again, it comes down to due diligence, the right calculators on a conservative basis, basing off of average electric and gas usage of that size property. Again, on a conservative basis. So we never go in at high risk. And if the offer doesn't stack, or you don't deem it to stack, we still strategically make an offer, because I always say the landlord would possibly rather have an offer than no offer. So again, Stuart, we were stacking a deal, doing the due diligence, and the rent was £3,000 on this 5-bed said, serviced accommodation. And based on data and doing the due diligence, we can only offer £2,000 straight up. That's it. That's our pretty much maxed out offer. So Stuart felt a bit like, a bit deflated. He made the offer in a strategic way, and they boom, come back all the way down to 2,100 with the holding deposit details ready to be paid. No negotiation whatsoever, just straight up dropped to £900. If they're looking for guaranteed rent, how much is peace of mind worth to the landlord? Is it worth £900 a month? Who knows? Just got to make the offer. That's it. We can only go in on due diligence, comparables, data, make the offer. None of the challenges, exit strategies. Okay, should always have an exit strategy. And that could, what I mean by that is if the property suddenly is starting to underperform because of market changes or saturation levels or regulation changes, then I think I've already mentioned this, but the contract needs to cover your ass so you can get out with 2 months notice. And that all just comes down to having the clauses in the contract and the landlord agreeing with that. Because at the end of the day, when we say we are a guaranteed rent company, we got to stick by that. This isn't a stab in the dark. This isn't like we're just trying our hand at it. This is a business, guys. This isn't fun and games. You are in a business and we're delivering a service to people. We can't just be testing. It's got to be sustainable for you. It's got to make money. The whole aim of rent to rent, right, the ethos around it is getting you out of your 9-to-5 job. The only way to do that is delivering a quality service to people so you can systemize and scale. That's what we teach you. So the bottom line, these problems do not disappear, but with the right mentorship, they're handled before they cost you time, money, reputation. This is why people get mentors, because you're shortcutting the time frame. You don't want to make expensive mistakes. You get deals that are actually going to profit without all the trial and error. If you are considering a mentor, go to kennypittman.com, go to the mentorship tab, check out the details, book a call with me. And again, you should absolutely go and watch this video because this will show you all of the steps included in rent to rent, from absolute beginning of making the phone calls to securing a deal. All right, cool. See you on the next one.